For the first time in recent history, a group of white South Africans, Afrikaners, have been officially granted refugee status by the United States government. The group of 49 individuals is set to arrive in the United States under a special designation authorized during the Trump administration. This event, largely overlooked in mainstream media, marks a significant development in the international understanding of race, refuge, and political violence in post-apartheid South Africa. If you find coverage like this vital and underreported, consider subscribing for more in-depth political analysis. According to documents released through United States Citizenship and Immigration Services and corroborated by several independent watchdogs, the refugee status was granted based on claims of systemic discrimination, targeted violence, and lack of state protection. This move by the United States administration stirred global debate, both for its humanitarian implications and the geopolitical message it sends. The background to this decision stretches back decades, but intensified during the 2000s and 2010s. Afrikaners, descendants of Dutch settlers in South Africa, have faced a complex and often polarizing legacy since the end of apartheid in 1994. While apartheid-era injustices remain central to South Africa's history, concerns have grown in recent years over violent farm attacks, rural insecurity, and allegations of reverse discrimination in land reform policies. In 2018, then-President Donald Trump tweeted, quote, "I have asked Secretary of State at Sec Pompeo to closely study the South Africa land and farm seizures and the large-scale killing of farmers." The tweet came shortly after a Fox News segment that claimed white farmers were being systematically targeted, prompting immediate backlash from South African officials. South Africa's government dismissed the claims as, quote, "misinformed and based on falsehoods," stating that crime in the country affects all citizens regardless of race. Nonetheless, the U.S. State Department confirmed that a special inquiry was initiated, leading to internal assessments and policy recommendations regarding refugee cases involving white South Africans. By 2020, the Trump administration had quietly authorized a review of selected asylum applications submitted by Afrikaner families. These applications detailed years of alleged harassment, lack of access to opportunities, and fears over safety due to politically motivated threats. Several of these families were already living in temporary shelters in Namibia and Botswana, citing fear of returning to their homes in South Africa. It is crucial to note that these applications were not based solely on economic hardship, but emphasized threats to life and personal liberty. Under U.S. asylum law, applicants must prove a well-founded fear of persecution based on race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. The decision to approve 49 of these applicants followed interviews conducted between late 2021 and mid-2023, involving federal asylum officers, legal counsel, and, in some cases, members of Congress advocating for expedited humanitarian relief. Public reaction has been divided. Supporters of the decision argue that every human being deserves protection when faced with credible threats, regardless of historical privilege. They cite the increasing number of violent farm invasions and the slow pace of rural policing as contributing factors to legitimate fear. Some conservative U.S. lawmakers framed it as part of a broader effort to recognize all victims of political violence, not just those from traditionally marginalized groups. Critics, however, view the move as political theater. They argue that prioritizing white asylum seekers from a middle-income country over refugees fleeing war zones, poverty, or religious persecution undermines the principles of international asylum. They question the criteria used and whether these cases meet the same thresholds applied to refugees from regions like the Middle East or Central America. South African media coverage has remained cautious. While some outlets highlighted the humanitarian aspects of the story, others warned that international recognition of Afrikaners as a persecuted group could embolden far-right narratives and deepen existing racial divides. According to statistics from AfriForum, a South African civil rights group often at the center of this debate, there were over 300 farm attacks in 2022 alone, with more than 50 resulting in fatalities. The group argues that these attacks are disproportionately targeted at white farmers, although independent crime analysts note that violent crime in rural areas is widespread and affects farm workers of all races. In contrast, the South African Human Rights Commission has acknowledged the existence of farm attacks, but emphasized that there is insufficient evidence to classify them as racially motivated genocide. Their 2019 report concluded that while farm attacks are a serious concern, they are part of a broader context of high crime rates and institutional challenges, not organized ethnic violence. Still, the psychological and emotional toll on rural communities, both white and black, cannot be understated. Many Afrikaner families cite not just fear of physical violence but a growing sense of political marginalization in a rapidly changing nation. The approval of refugee status by the United States, therefore, carries more than just legal weight. It sends a diplomatic signal, one that could complicate future relations between Pretoria and Washington. As of now, the 49 approved refugees are expected to resettle in several U.S. states, including Texas, Florida, and South Dakota. Non-governmental organizations specializing in refugee integration have confirmed that support structures have been arranged, including housing, employment assistance, and psychological counseling. The Biden administration has not reversed the approvals but has refrained from commenting further. A State Department spokesperson, when asked about future refugee applications from South Africa, stated only that all asylum decisions are evaluated on a case-by-case basis according to U.S. and international law. What comes next is uncertain. Will this open the door to more Afrikaner asylum claims? Or will it remain an isolated case in the broader narrative of South African emigration? According to Stats SA, over 120,000 white South Africans have emigrated since 1994, many citing fears about the economy, personal safety, and future prospects. But refugee status is a different category altogether, one that suggests not just a choice to leave, but a necessity. As global attention turns to conflict hotspots across Europe and the Middle East, this story serves as a reminder that the politics of refuge are rarely simple, and the stories behind them even less so. Stay informed, stay critical. And if this report added something new to your perspective, hit that subscribe button. More in-depth reporting is coming your way.